Ladies and gentlemen, when God begins to lift you higher, He doesn't always send a loud announcement, He sends signs. And those signs don't always look like blessings at first. Sometimes they look like discomfort. When God is moving you to a new level, He will separate you from people who can't go where you're going. Doors will close, not to break you, but to direct you. You will face challenges not as punishment, but as preparation. If you are experiencing isolation, rejection, or unusual pressure, rejoice. That means heaven is preparing you for greater. You see, gold is refined in fire, diamonds are formed under pressure, and eagles don't fear the storm, they use it to soar. When God lifts you, He first stretches you. He removes distractions and increases your vision. So don't resist the process, embrace it. These signs mean elevation is near. Stand firm, walk boldly, and trust the lifting power of God. Separation from certain people is a sign of elevation, because when God prepares to take you higher, He often removes individuals who are not meant to go with you. This is not an act of rejection, but an act of direction. Many times we hold on to relationships, friendships, and connections that were only meant for a certain season in our lives. When that season is over, God allows separation to occur, not to hurt us, but to position us for the next level. One of the greatest challenges in life is letting go of familiar people, especially those who have been part of our journey for a long time. It is natural to feel a sense of loss when people start to drift away or when relationships begin to change. But what if that shift is not a loss, but a divine alignment? What if God is rearranging your circle because your destiny requires a different environment? Some people were sent to help you at one stage, but they cannot handle the weight of your next level. Many times separation happens through conflict or unexpected changes. A friend who was once close suddenly becomes distant. A relationship that once felt strong starts to feel strained. Instead of fighting to hold on, it is important to discern when God is moving people out of your life for your own growth. Not everyone is meant to continue with you. Some people are comfortable with the old version of you and cannot handle the new you that God is forming. When you begin to grow spiritually, mentally, and emotionally, not everyone will celebrate your growth. Some will resist it, some will misunderstand it, and some will even try to pull you back. Look at the story of Abraham. When God called him to leave his homeland and go to a place He would show him, Abraham had to separate from familiar surroundings. He had to leave behind the comfort of what he knew to step into something greater. He took his nephew Lot with him, but at a certain point, even Lot had to be separated from him. It was only after that separation that God revealed the full extent of His promise to Abraham. Sometimes our next level is waiting on the other side of obedience to let go. Separation can feel painful because we often attach emotions to people and places that are not meant to be permanent. But what if the very thing you are struggling to hold on to is the thing blocking you from stepping into your purpose? Some relationships carry old mindsets, limiting beliefs, and distractions that hinder growth. If you are called to greatness, you cannot afford to stay attached to people who drain your energy, limit your vision, or keep you bound to the past. Elevation requires pruning. Just as a gardener prunes a tree to make it bear more fruit, God prunes relationships, habits, and attachments in your life to prepare you for greater impact. Some separations are necessary because they make room for the right people to enter your life. The right connections, the right mentors, and the right environment are crucial for the journey ahead. If you are too focused on holding on to the wrong relationships, you might miss the divine connections that God is trying to bring into your life. It is important to recognize that separation is not about superiority, but about purpose. It does not mean you are better than others, it simply means your assignments are different. Some friendships were built on a foundation that can no longer sustain where you are going. Some relationships were rooted in mutual struggles, but now that you are stepping into breakthrough, those connections can no longer serve you. When God is elevating you, He will allow certain friendships to fade, certain conversations to stop, and certain invitations to cease. Instead of feeling rejected, recognize that this is a sign of redirection. Some people cannot handle the weight of your calling. Some people are comfortable with mediocrity, but you are called to excellence. Some people see life through the lens of limitation, but you are called to walk by faith. The discomfort of separation is a test of trust. Can you trust God enough to let go of what is familiar and step into the unknown? Can you believe that what He has ahead is better than what you are leaving behind? It is not always easy, but it is always necessary. Many people miss their season of elevation because they are too attached to people who are never meant to be part of their future. The higher you go, the more selective your circle must become. You cannot carry unnecessary weight into your destiny. God will allow separation because He knows what is best for your growth. He knows who will support your calling and who will hinder it. He knows who will celebrate you and who will secretly resent you. He knows who will pray for you and who will betray you. When He begins to separate you from certain individuals, do not fight it, discern it. Some doors must close so better ones can open. Some relationships must end so divine alignments can begin. Some chapters must conclude so the next one can be written. Every time separation happens, it is an indication that God is shifting you. It is not always comfortable, but it is always necessary. You may not understand it now, but later you will look back and see that it was all part of a divine plan. Closed doors redirect you to greater opportunities because when one path is blocked, it is often a sign that a better one is waiting ahead. Many times we see a closed door as rejection, failure, or a lost opportunity, but in reality, it is divine protection. God knows what is beyond the doors we are trying to open, and sometimes He closes them to prevent us from settling for less than what He has planned for us. When a door closes, it can feel confusing and frustrating, especially when it was something we deeply desire. It could be a job opportunity that did not work out, a relationship that ended, or a plan that completely fell apart. In those moments, it is easy to question God and wonder why things are not going according to our expectations. But what if that closed door is actually a redirection to something greater? What if what you are holding on to so tightly is far less than what God wants to give you? There are times when we pray for things that seem right in our eyes, but God in His wisdom sees what we cannot. He knows the long-term consequences, the hidden dangers, and the unseen struggles that would come with certain choices. A closed door is not a sign that you are unworthy or that you have failed. It is a sign that God is leading you to something better. Sometimes the very thing you are disappointed about is the very thing God is using to align you with His perfect plan. The challenge is that we often get attached to our plans, our desires, and our expectations. We invest time, energy, and emotions into certain paths, and when they do not work out, we feel lost. But when God closes a door, it is not to take away from you, it is to position you for something greater. If you could see the full picture, you would realize that what He has in store is far beyond what you were trying to hold on to. Think about Joseph in the Bible. He had dreams of greatness, but his journey was full of closed doors. He was sold into slavery by his own brothers, falsely accused, and thrown into prison. Each of these moments could have seemed like a dead end, but in reality, they were redirections. Every closed door was positioning him for his ultimate purpose to become a ruler in Egypt and save nations from famine. What seemed like setbacks were actually divine setups. Many times when a door closes, it is because you were thinking too small. You were asking for something temporary when God wanted to give you something permanent. You were looking for comfort, but God was preparing you for purpose. Closed doors are not meant to discourage you. They are meant to stretch you. They push you to look beyond what you thought was possible and to trust that God has a bigger plan. When a door closes, you have a choice. You can either stay stuck in disappointment trying to force it open, or you can trust that something better is coming. Those who waste time trying to reopen what God has closed often miss the opportunities waiting on the other side. Growth happens when you learn to surrender and move forward with faith. One of the greatest tests of faith is being able to accept a closed door with gratitude. It is easy to thank God when things are going our way, but can you thank Him when the answer is no? Can you trust that He is leading you even when you do not understand why certain things did not work out? The doors that close in your life are not obstacles. They are divine instructions. They are guiding you towards something that aligns with your purpose, your calling, and your destiny. Sometimes God closes a door because He wants you to walk through a different one that you would have never considered. What you thought was a rejection was actually redirection. The relationship that ended, the job that did not come through, the opportunity that fell apart, these were all signs that something greater was ahead. You may not see it now, but every closed door is moving you closer to your divine assignment. If you look back at your life, you will realize that some of the greatest blessings came after a door was shut. At the moment, it may have felt painful, but later you saw the wisdom in it. The disappointment led you to something greater. The heartbreak made room for something better. The closed door was never the end. It was a transition into a higher level. God's plan for your life is always bigger than what you can imagine. Every closed door is a step toward that greater purpose. Trust that what is meant for you will never pass you by, and what does not work out was never meant to be part of your destiny. Challenges are preparation, not punishment, because every great destiny requires refinement. When you face difficulties, setbacks, or trials, it is easy to think that something is wrong, that you are being punished, or that you are off course. But in reality, the challenges you encounter are designed to shape you, strengthen you, and prepare you for the next level. God does not waste pain. He uses it to develop the character, wisdom, and endurance needed for the assignment He has for you. Many people want promotion without preparation, but true elevation requires process. No one steps into greatness without first being tested. Before a tree can bear fruit, its roots must grow deep. Before a diamond shines, it must go through intense pressure. Before gold is purified, it must endure fire. The challenges in your life are not there to destroy you, they are there to refine you. They expose weaknesses, reveal strengths, and build resilience. There are times when difficulties come, not because you did something wrong, but because you are being positioned for something greater. When you are chosen for a higher calling, you will experience a higher level of preparation. The greater the assignment, the greater the challenges. Many times, people pray for increase, for impact, for influence, but they do not realize that preparation comes before elevation. Every challenge is training for the next level. Look at David before he became king. He was anointed while still a shepherd, but he did not step into his throne immediately. Instead, he faced lions and bears while tending sheep. He faced the giant Goliath when no one believed in him. He faced years of running from Saul, enduring betrayal, and living in caves. Every one of those challenges was not a punishment, they were preparation. They were equipping him with the courage, wisdom, and leadership skills he would need to rule a kingdom. Without those trials, he would not have been ready for the throne. Sometimes challenges reveal who you truly are. It is easy to have faith when everything is going well, but real faith is tested in adversity. When everything seems to be falling apart, do you still believe that God has a plan? When the doors seem closed, do you trust that He is leading you somewhere better? When the storm rages, do you still stand firm? Challenges expose what is in your heart. They reveal whether you are truly prepared for the weight of what you are asking for. Many people want success, but they do not want the struggle that builds the strength to sustain it. They want the blessing, but they do not want the process that comes with it. However, anything great requires refining. If you skip the process, you will not be able to handle the promise. God does not allow challenges to harm you. He allows them to equip you. Every delay, every setback, and every hardship is a lesson in endurance, faith, and character. When a builder constructs a tall building, the foundation must be deep and strong. The higher the building, the deeper the foundation. The same is true for your life. If God is allowing deep struggles, it is because He is laying a deep foundation. He is making sure that when you rise, you will not collapse under the weight of your calling. Without preparation, promotion can destroy a person. Many people fail not because they lack talent, but because they were not prepared for the responsibility that came with their elevation. Challenges also teach dependence on God. When everything is easy, it is tempting to rely on your own strength, but when difficulties come, they push you to trust God in ways you never have before. They deepen your relationship with Him, build spiritual maturity, and teach you that His power is made perfect in your weakness. Some of the greatest spiritual growth happens in seasons of struggle. When you understand that challenges are preparation, you stop complaining and start growing. You stop seeing difficulties as obstacles and start seeing them as training. You recognize that every battle is making you stronger. Every hardship is developing something in you that is necessary for your destiny. Every closed door, every delay, every disappointment is part of the process. The people who make the greatest impact are those who have been through the greatest struggles. They have faced rejection, but they did not quit. They have experienced failure, but they did not give up. They have endured hardship, but they allowed it to mold them into something greater. Every challenge is a setup for what is coming next. What feels like a test is actually a stepping stone to a higher level. What seems like a struggle is shaping you into the person you need to become. Isolation often precedes promotion because before God elevates you, He sets you apart. When he is preparing you for something greater, he removes distractions, separates you from familiar environments, and takes you into a season of solitude. This is not a sign of abandonment. It is a divine process designed to sharpen your focus, develop your character, and bring you closer to him. Many people desire promotion, but they do not realize that elevation requires separation. The higher you go, the fewer people can go with you. Separation is uncomfortable because human nature craves connection, but isolation is often necessary for transformation. When God is preparing you for a new season, he will remove voices that could distort your vision. He will pull you away from relationships, routines, and environments that no longer align with your destiny. It may feel like rejection, but it is actually redirection. Some people were part of your past, but they cannot handle your future. Some relationships were tied to your old level, but they cannot sustain where God is taking you next. Look at the life of Moses. Before he became a leader, he spent years in the wilderness. God pulled him away from the palace of Egypt and into a season of isolation where he learned dependence on God. That time alone was not punishment, it was preparation. It was in isolation that Moses encountered God at the burning bush and received his divine assignment. If he had remained in the comfort of Pharaoh's palace, he would have never discovered his true purpose. The pattern is the same throughout history. Before Joseph became second in command over Egypt, he was thrown into a pit by his brothers, sold into slavery, and later in prison. Each stage of his journey involved moments of isolation, but those moments were leading him to his destiny. Isolation is where God refines you, strengthens you, and imparts wisdom that you could not receive in the noise of the crowd. Sometimes the reason God isolates you is that he needs to change your mindset before he changes your position. You cannot step into a new level thinking like the old one. The old habits, the old doubts, and the old fears must be stripped away before you can walk in the fullness of your calling. When you are surrounded by too many opinions, it becomes difficult to hear God's voice clearly. Isolation removes the noise and allows divine clarity to take root. Many people resist isolation because they misunderstand its purpose. They see it as loneliness rather than transformation. They try to force old relationships to stay, even when God is removing them. They seek validation from people instead of recognizing that this season is about divine alignment. When God isolates you, it is not to harm you, but to develop you. He is teaching you to depend on him, to trust him fully, and to find your identity in him rather than in people. During seasons of isolation, it is easy to feel forgotten, but those who are set apart are never abandoned. The caterpillar enters isolation in a cocoon, but it emerges as a butterfly. The seed is buried in the ground alone before it grows into a tree. Jesus himself spent 40 days alone in the wilderness before launching his ministry. Every great transformation requires a season of solitude. Isolation is also a test of faithfulness. Will you remain faithful when no one is watching? Will you stay committed when there is no applause? Will you trust God even when nothing seems to be happening? Many people give up during isolation because they do not see immediate results, but those who endure the process come out stronger, wiser, and they're fully equipped for their next level. When God calls you higher, he will remove unnecessary weights from your life. Some friendships will fade, some doors will close, and some people will misunderstand your journey. But this is not a setback, it is a setup. Isolation is where strength is built. It is where vision is sharpened. It is where destiny is revealed. Those who embrace the process of isolation with faith and patience will emerge prepared for the promotion that is ahead. Pressure produces strength and refinement because every great destiny requires endurance. The challenges, trials, and difficulties you face are not meant to break you, but to build you. Pressure is part of the process that prepares you for the weight of your calling. Without pressure, there is no growth. Without resistance, there is no strength. The things that challenge you the most are often the very things that develop the qualities necessary for your next level. Gold is refined in fire. Diamonds are formed under intense pressure. Strong muscles are built through resistance. In the same way, the trials of life are not setbacks but divine training. Every challenge is shaping you, stretching you, and increasing your capacity. If you avoid pressure, you also avoid the strength that comes from overcoming it. Many people desire greatness, but they do not want the process that produces it. They pray for increase, but they resist the weight of responsibility that comes with it. However, nothing valuable is made without a refining process. Look at the life of Joseph. He had dreams of leadership, but before stepping into his destiny, he endured betrayal, slavery, false accusations, and imprisonment. Every moment of pressure was refining his character. If Joseph had not been tested in the pit, in the prison, and in Potiphar's house, he would not have been ready for the palace. Pressure did not destroy him, it prepared him. The same principle applies to anyone who is called to a higher purpose. Pressure reveals strength, endurance, and resilience. Pressure also exposes what is inside of you. When squeezed, a fruit releases what is within it. Likewise, when life applies pressure, it brings out what is truly in your heart. It exposes weaknesses that need to be addressed and strengths that need to be developed. Many times, pressure comes to push you beyond your comfort zone. It forces you to rely on God, to develop new skills, and to grow in ways you never would have if life had remained easy. In difficult seasons, it is easy to question why things are so hard, but every challenge serves a purpose. When pressure comes, it is an indication that something greater is being formed in you. The discomfort is temporary, but the growth it produces is permanent. Many people try to escape pressure too soon, but those who endure the process come out stronger, wiser, and fully prepared for their next season. Pressure is also a sign that elevation is near. Before a breakthrough, there is always a season of intense resistance. Before promotion, there is always a test. Before stepping into greatness, there is always a refining process. Those who cannot handle pressure cannot handle promotion. The weight of responsibility requires inner strength, and that strength is only built through adversity. Every person who has achieved something great has faced intense pressure. David faced pressure when he stood before Goliath. Esther faced pressure when she had to risk her life to save her people. Jesus faced pressure in the Garden of Gethsemane before fulfilling his ultimate purpose. Pressure is not a sign that you are failing. It is a sign that you are being prepared. It is a necessary part of the journey toward greatness. Pressure also teaches perseverance. Many people give up when things become difficult, but those who endure develop an unshakable foundation. When you learn to withstand pressure, you become unstoppable. You are no longer easily discouraged. You do not break under trials. You learn to rise above difficulties with faith and determination. This is why pressure is necessary. It separates those who are truly prepared for elevation from those who are not. Pressure is also a tool that refines your perspective. It teaches you to see challenges not as obstacles, but as opportunities for growth. It shifts your mindset from complaining to conquering. When you understand that pressure is part of the process, you begin to embrace challenges with a different attitude. You no longer resist growth, you welcome it. You no longer fear struggles, you see them as stepping stones. The greatest transformations happen under pressure. Without it, there is no refinement, no endurance, and no strength. Those who rise to greatness are those who learn to withstand the process, trust God in difficult times, and embrace the pressure that prepares them for their purpose. Unusual favor and opportunities begin to appear when God is lifting you higher, because divine promotion always comes with signs. When God is shifting you into a new season, doors that were once closed begin to open. People you never expected start offering help, and opportunities that seemed too great for your qualifications suddenly present themselves. These are not coincidences, they are divine alignments. God positions the right people at the right time to usher you into your next level. Favor is not something that can be earned, it is given by God. When He decides to elevate you, He places His favor upon your life in a way that cannot be explained by human logic. It causes things to work in your favor even when you lack experience, connections, or resources. It makes you stand out in places where others are overlooked. Favor accelerates your progress, removes obstacles, and grants you access to opportunities that are beyond your natural ability. When Joseph was in prison, there was no logical reason for him to rise to power in Egypt. He was a foreigner, a former slave, and an ex-prisoner, yet when God's favor was upon him, he was elevated from the prison to the palace in a single day. That is the power of divine favor. It does not follow human timelines, and it does not require the approval of others. When God decides to lift you, no opposition can stop it. Many times, favor shows up when you least expect it. You may be in a season where nothing seems to be working, and suddenly an opportunity appears that changes everything. A recommendation comes from someone you did not even know was watching you. A connection happens that shifts your entire trajectory. These moments are signs that God is at work behind the scenes, orchestrating events for your elevation. Favor does not mean there will be no challenges, but it does mean that you will succeed despite them. When God places his hand upon you, even the things that were meant to stop you will turn around for your good. The enemy may try to block your progress, but favor will cause you to rise above every attempt to hold you back. What others struggle to attain, you will receive with ease. What took others years to accomplish, favor will accelerate for you in a short time. Unusual opportunities also begin to appear when God is lifting you. You may find yourself in rooms you never imagined, having conversations with people you once admired from a distance. You may be given assignments or responsibilities that seem beyond your qualifications. This is how God works. He does not promote based on human standards. He looks at the heart, the character, and the faithfulness of a person. When he chooses to elevate you, he opens doors that no man can shut. Divine opportunities often come disguised as challenges. What seems like an overwhelming task may be the door to your next level. What looks like an impossible situation may be the very thing that positions you for favor. Many people miss their elevation because they reject opportunities that do not come in the form they expected. God's promotions do not always look glamorous in the beginning, but they are designed to stretch, grow, and prepare you for something greater. Favor also brings divine connections. When God is lifting you, he will send people into your life who have the resources, knowledge, or influence to help you move forward. These connections are not accidental, they are strategic. God places the right individuals in your path at the right time to ensure that you step into your destiny. However, divine connections must be handled with wisdom. Not everyone sent to help you is meant to stay permanently. Some are there for a season, and recognizing their role is crucial to navigating favor correctly. When unusual favor and opportunities begin to appear, it is important to stay humble and grateful. Many people lose their promotion because they become prideful and forget that it was God who opened the doors. Favor is sustained through humility, wisdom, and stewardship. The opportunities God gives you are not just for your benefit, they are meant to impact others. When he elevates you, it is so you can be a blessing, a source of influence, and a carrier of his purpose on a greater level. Favor requires obedience. When God begins to shift things in your favor, he may ask you to step into unfamiliar territory, to take bold actions, or to trust him beyond your comfort zone. Many times, opportunities require faith. You may feel unqualified, but favor qualifies you. You may feel unprepared, but God's grace empowers you. What matters is your willingness to move forward despite the fear, uncertainty, or doubts. Those who embrace favor with faith see doors open that they never could have imagined. Unusual favor is not about luck, it is about alignment. It comes to those who are prepared, faithful, and ready to step into God's divine plan. It may not always look the way you expect, but when you recognize the signs of favor and embrace them with gratitude and wisdom, you will walk in a level of elevation that can only be explained by the hand of God. Spiritual discernment becomes sharper when God is lifting you higher, because elevation requires clarity, wisdom, and the ability to recognize divine direction. When God is preparing to take you to a new level, he increases your awareness of his voice, sharpens your ability to distinguish between opportunities and distractions, and gives you insight that others may not see. Discernment is a gift that allows you to navigate the complexities of promotion, ensuring that you do not fall into traps, make the wrong alliances, or move outside of God's timing. One of the first signs of sharpened discernment is an increased sensitivity to God's presence. You begin to notice his guidance in areas where you once relied on your own understanding. Decisions that used to be difficult become clearer because you sense his leading. The Holy Spirit begins to highlight things that others overlook, warning you against wrong decisions and confirming the right path. When God is lifting you, he does not leave you to figure things out on your own. He provides divine direction. Another sign that your discernment is increasing is that you begin to see people differently. You recognize who is genuinely for you and who is only there for their own benefit. Some relationships that once seemed meaningful may start to feel misaligned. This is because elevation requires purification. God reveals the motives of those around you, exposing those who cannot go where he is taking you. It is not always easy to accept, but discernment allows you to make necessary separations without bitterness or regret. Your perception of opportunities also changes. Not every open door is from God, and discernment helps you distinguish between what is good and what is God ordained. Some opportunities may look appealing, but are actually distractions meant to delay your destiny. When discernment increases, you no longer rush into decisions based on emotions or external appearances. You learn to pause, pray, and wait for confirmation before making a move. This ability to discern the difference between man-made promotion and divine elevation is what keeps you from being deceived by temporary success that leads to long-term regret. When God sharpens your discernment, He also heightens your awareness of spiritual warfare. You begin to sense attacks before they fully manifest. You recognize when resistance is not just a natural obstacle, but a spiritual opposition. You become more vigilant in prayer because you understand that elevation attracts attacks. The enemy does not fight those who are not a threat. He targets those who are stepping into something greater. But with discernment, you do not fear these attacks. You prepare for them. You learn to stand firm, knowing that no weapon formed against you will prosper. Another key aspect of discernment is understanding timing. Just because God has promised something does not mean it is time to step into it immediately. Many people miss their promotion because they move too soon or too late. When your discernment is sharpened, you develop a deep sensitivity to God's timing. You no longer act out of impatience or pressure from others. You move when He says move, wait when He says wait, and trust that His timing is perfect. Discernment also protects you from deception. As you rise higher, you will encounter people who appear to be helpful but have hidden agendas. Some will try to attach themselves to your success, while others may attempt to lead you in the wrong direction. A sharpened spiritual awareness allows you to see beyond words and actions, discerning the true spirit behind every situation. This is why many great leaders fall not because they lack skill, but because they lack discernment. They trust the wrong voices, enter the wrong partnerships, and end up in places God never intended for them. As discernment increases, your prayer life also deepens. You no longer pray surface level prayers, you seek divine insight and revelation. You begin to ask God to show you what is hidden, to reveal His plans, and to expose anything that is not from Him. Prayer becomes more than just a routine, it becomes a lifeline. It becomes the place where you receive clarity, direction, and the strength to navigate elevation without losing your purpose. With discernment, you also develop a stronger conviction to obey God, even when it does not make sense. There will be moments when He asks you to do things that seem illogical or unexpected. You may be led to walk away from an opportunity that looks perfect or to pursue something that seems impossible. But discernment helps you trust that God sees what you cannot. He knows the hidden dangers and the unseen blessings. When you operate in discernment, you no longer rely on your own understanding, you fully depend on Him. Discernment is one of the greatest tools for sustaining elevation. It ensures that you remain aligned with God's will, protected from deception, and sensitive to His leading. When God is lifting you higher, He does not just give you greater influence, He gives you greater insight. The higher you go, the more crucial it is to hear His voice clearly, to recognize divine connections, and to avoid the pitfalls that come with promotion. Those who embrace discernment will walk in wisdom, remain strong in faith, and move forward with confidence, knowing that they are being led by God Himself.